And welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. And as our former president, Thomas Whitmore, once said, we'll not go quietly into the night. Today we celebrate the day after Independence Day here on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Coming to you live on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. Every time we do it live and get to know you better. I'm Chris Perfett, the adequate host, at Chris Perfett on Twitter. Find Pride of Detroit on Twitter, at Pride of Detroit, prideofdetroit.com. Download the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio. I'm just do it off the top of my head every time. It's not a hard skill, but it is for me. Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit Online. Clap, clap, yes. We've been experiencing technical difficulties on the Twitch side. The fearless leader has moved into his new secure underground bunker, and wouldn't you know it, half the stuff doesn't work. So we fixed it.
We worked around it.
That's fixing it. In the engineering business, that's fixing it. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm getting by. I'm happy at the new place. Just working through normal new place stuff.
New place stuff. I see chat thinks you've already moved to Area 51.
Maybe.
Or, I mean, I wouldn't know, because on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, all I see is your green is that you're at Ford Field, as always. I didn't even know you moved.
Yeah, maybe this isn't a green screen anymore. Maybe I'm just sitting on the 50-yard line.
That would be impressive, especially when we do these after games, which we're in the dog days of summer right now. But stick with us, because we have top 10 cornerback list cast coming up, and some dread and questions and other dog day topics. But first, the third man, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. How's it going, Ryan?
It's going pretty well. I hope that if Jeremy's at the 50-yard line, he's getting the ludicrous treatment.
That, wow. This is a PG-13, excuse me. We can't really have that here. Sorry, Ryan.
Is it even PG-13 if you have to be like 25 years older or more in order to get that reference?
You can rent a car. You can rent a car now.
Speaking of backseats of cars. Anyways.
Right. Okay. Well, now I think we're all kind of glowering here, because I had to wake up at like 5 a.m. and sleep through a bunch of fireworks. Jeremy's been on an anti-firework crusade for a hot minute now. I don't know how Ryan feels about fireworks, but
they suck.
Okay, good talk. This is a no fun POD cast. No fireworks. I like fireworks, just not when people are setting them off among 5 different apartment complexes, scaring the hell out of my poor cat Ruby and setting off car alarms.
I feel like if you are an animal owner, you are definitely anti-firework. Last night, Goose was at my parents' house, and apparently their neighbors, my mom keeps on saying that they were lighting off M80s, because I think that's just like boomer talk for like very loud
bang
fireworks.
Yeah.
But she said like Goose was trying to like hide under the bed, and like I felt terrible for him.
Yeah.
And she said that they were going until like 11:30, 12 o'clock. So
It has to be really dark to like really appreciate it the most. Like it has to be against a pure dark background.
Okay.
Fireworks suck. They suck.
Well, to
End
stop
of discussion.
It's to stop this podcast from going any more boomer than it absolutely needs to be. Let's start. We're just cleaning house here real quick. First off, I want to shout. We have to do a shout out. We don't get to do shout outs too often in the Pride of Detroit PODcast. But as you guys know, we are like Pitbull, Ryan. We are Mr. Worldwide. We upgraded from an area code to worldwide. We're no longer Mr. 313. We are Mr. Worldwide here on the Pride of Detroit PODcast, because a friend on Discord, SW14, was in Rome. He is one of many British Detroit Lions fans, apparently converted because of a random game between the Lions and the Atlanta Falcons in Wembley Stadium, which was like the first game they had that wasn't a ridiculous blowout, but was actually fun and exciting. To which, if you've joined us for the Lions because of that, all I have to say is I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, and I'm sorry.
Welcome to the theater of pain.
Yeah. But he was in, SW14 was in Rome, the Eternal City, because England is the UEFA Euro Championship right now. In Rome, he was hanging around, getting drinks, getting liquored up because it's English football. And he stumbled into a pub, a Scottish-style pub in Rome called the Highlander Pub. And in that pub, you can find on my Twitter account, @ChrisPerfett, there is Lions gear all over the place. And apparently, from what I have been informed, the guys who run the bar like the Detroit Lions. So shout out to the Highlander Pub. We are international. You can't stop us.
Dolly.
Dale.
Screw America's team. We're Earth's team.
We are, yes. That is the goal. The Cowboys can have America's team and they can have Hard Knocks, but we get to spread misery across the globe. That is cool.
Hey.
Though. The Highlander Pub. If you are an American, the Highlander Pub in Rome, and you're a Lions fan, go check them out. Tell them we sent you. I'm going to try to reach out to the guys who run that place here soon because. Yeah, that's cool. Apparently, from what I've been told, they had some Michigan people in, and they just they put up all the Lions stuff. They've got posters up of Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford. There's a Lions logo at the bar itself. It's in full display.
They have any pictures of Theo Riddick up there, too?
No, I don't think so.
Javid Best, maybe? Just some guys that had great careers that were wasted and or cut short here in Detroit.
Okay, well, I did mention Hard Knocks earlier, and to get this onto a more cheery topic, the Lions will not be on Hard Knocks.
That's not a cheery topic. I wanted them on Hard Knocks.
You want them on Hard Knocks?
Yeah, more Dan Campbell.
Don't you know
more,
that? But the curse...
More pissing off Colin Cowherd because he said something silly and football is serious?
Oh, yeah. Did you?
Yes.
I mean, toilet paper today, man. He's not going to wipe anyone's ass. Would Urban Meyer say that while he's getting fined for OTAs?
Yeah, no. I love Dan Campbell, the meathead coach, is not running the Oklahoma drill as Urban Meyer was.
Is that
was fake. That was fake. That's apparently a joke from a Buffalo Bills beat writer that he always jokes about the Jaguars. That, I mean, if you're a beat writer and you have a check mark, last thing you should probably do is make up just completely believable fake stories.
No, that was super plausible. Hook, line, and sinker got me for sure. Urban Meyer was just giving Chris Jericho a laptop to beat another AEW wrestler. There's no way that I don't believe that.
Maybe
Urban
that's what he
Meyer
got fined for.
AEW?
Yeah.
See, but that would feel like that would be cool though. No, I don't want that.
Maybe he brought that to practice. It just people were slamming each other in the head with laptops at OTAs.
But you don't want to be on Hard Knocks, even knowing the curse of Hard Knocks, Jeremy. That if you go on Hard Knocks, you won't win the Super Bowl that year. You want that on the Lions this year?
No, please don't let that happen to the Lions this year. I no.
Who doesn't want more Jared Goff? Jared Goff on Hard Knocks was fun the first time.
Yeah, when it was the Rams on Hard Knocks.
We can get an astronomy update from him. He's aware which way the sun sets.
Yeah,
the sun technically doesn't set.
No, we need more. We need more Jerry Jones. Apparently, we need more. Just that ghoul walking around talking about I want me some glory hole.
Well, is there? Okay. Oh gosh.
That's a real quote from him.
Is there a team that you would have been even more just over it if it wasn't the Cowboys? I'm not really interested in watching Hard Knocks Cowboys. I'll watch it, but I'm not going to be excited to watch it each week. I don't think that there's a less interesting team for them to do Hard Knocks with.
Maybe the Patriots.
Sure.
I mean, not like you get much out of the Patriots to begin with, but the post-Tom Brady Patriots with Belichick just clamping down on everything. Who among the players would even be the star? Stephen Gilmore?
I I think the Patriots might be interesting in that it would just be interesting to see them try to shut down as much as possible. Like to see them tortured by having cameras everywhere that's going to broadcast.
This is my nightmare.
Things. Right. Like there would be so many scenes where the camera wouldn't be on them and they just assume the mic was off, but the mic wasn't off. So we just get like a black picture of them just like saying, this guy's a total a-hole. Let's embarrass him, or Matt Patricia probably gets in trouble for saying something off color.
Yeah, I don't want to. That's the other thing. I don't want to see Matty P again. Are you kidding me? Screw that. Well, you, Ryan, you have an answer?
I would maybe. No, not really. Like, the Cowboys they're uninteresting. Like, nothing about like Dak Prescott's rehabilitation is interesting to me. Nothing about Ezekiel Elliott is interesting to me.
What about Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator?
No.
Just give him a chance, dude.
I think the only other one I would not be interested in is probably the Colts, because I don't know anything about.
No, you just hate the Colts.
No, what's interesting about the Colts this year? Like that Carson Wentz is there and he's going to just torch the place again?
Yeah. That's exactly it.
What could have been really painful? What could have been really painful for Lions fans is if we would have got another Rams Hard Knocks.
Ooh, God. That's a fantastic point. That would be torture for me. I don't think I'd watch it.
Oh, you'd watch it?
No. Nope.
Just ripping the Band-Aid off.
I would.
Away.
I would.
You'd watch it with a box of Tums real close.
This is the weird thing. So this is the first year I have HBO because I finally dug in for HBO Max. So I haven't seen Hard Knocks before. But I just never, it wasn't something that interests me. I mean, if there was a good soundbite, someone would grab it the next morning, and I'd hear Jeff Fisher going, "I'm not going 7-9 or 8-8."
Or let's have a goddamn snack.
Yeah.
The Raiders one I found a little bit interesting. I still remember former Lions tight end.
Not Ebron.
No.
Pettigrew?
Nope.
I know who you're talking about.
Played in Seattle.
Yeah. Dancing guy. Not Owen Wilson. The other one.
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson. Thank you.
Yes. Luke Wilson with two L's.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I just remember his mantra or his little his toast or his little speech that he'd say, some ships are made of metal, some ships are made of wood, but the best ships are friendships, and that's the way it should.
Wow, that's one to live on. I just want to play the More You Know music. I'm inspired. What would, you know what, I'm going to throw out the script I have here and just say, if we had a Lions Hard Knocks this year, hypothetical, what would be the biggest storylines out of it, besides Dan Campbell doing Dan Campbell things and talking about toilet paper or wiping people's asses or anything? Like, just take Dan Campbell out of the equation. He's number one. You keep the camera on him. Who's the next two people you keep the camera on this year? If you were doing, like, I know we're gonna get like an Inside the Den, but that's gonna be a lot more buttoned up, I feel like. So I want to know, if we were doing a Lions Hard Knocks this year, after Dan Campbell, who are the two people we're keeping the camera on? One other coach and, like, I don't know, one or two players.
Well, I think a big storyline will be like Rams cast-offs. So, like, obviously Jared Goff. Anytime the quarterback's going to be a big topic, and so Jared Goff, Michael Brockers will probably have a bunch of combined stuff, and maybe you throw Brad Holmes in there as well. Just Rams in a new land type of storyline is probably something. And then if you're talking about maybe like guys who are going to be fun and animated in terms of coaches on the field, I mean, you could really pick anybody. I think that is also probably a storyline. It's all the former coaches being entertaining. But if I had to point to one or two, it would probably be our friend Deuce Staley and maybe Antoine Randall. I think both those guys are going to be fun during training camp.
I think I could see the camera being put on Le'Veon Zawerke, just because he would just immediately up the rating required to see Hard Knocks with just the cussing.
A lot of bleeping.
I guess bleeps.
They don't bleep on HBO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that was cheating by just saying like the Rams subplot, like Brad Holmes, Jared Goff, Michael Brockers, kind of.
I'm definitely cheating.
No, that's fine. I think what I would be really intrigued in seeing is like the Okora brothers. with Romeo getting the contract that he got, Julian trying to kind of rehab and bounce back from kind of a lost rookie season,
Sure.
and just their relationship and their dynamic, especially because of Romeo's background in terms of being somebody who kind of benefited the most from training camp in terms
Right.
of coming here to Detroit and finding a spot a couple of seasons ago. So the Okwara brothers would be a really interesting one, and I would hope that they like. I would just be really intrigued by. Obviously, we haven't set the running back room, like Jamal Williams.
Yeah,
like that's got to
absolutely,
be
absolutely.
number one with a bullet, right? Like
He's going to be a star. He'd
Yeah.
definitely make a name for himself if that. Hopefully, I mean, he still does with whatever the Lions push out, and maybe a clip or two of that gets viral. But yeah, Jamal Williams would be amazing.
Very funny.
And
It's
I
all
would hope
guys.
they'd
It's
follow
all
him
guys
around.
that we have interviewed already. It's almost like they are. We are the original, and everyone is trying to copy something here. I'm trying to think of one more. I mean, just it keeps going back to Jared Goff, just because I think of what a goober he is. I mean, there's so many rookies you could probably do. Like I'm joining Jeremy. Now I am kind of mad that we're not getting Hard Knocks on the Lions.
I mean, it's never going to happen. A team is never. I mean, I shouldn't say never, but I would be very surprised if a team ever volunteered to do it. There's very little incentive from their style to put out something that they don't have editorial control over, right? Like they don't.
Right.
They don't necessarily get much of a say, if any say, in what goes out there, and that's dangerous to a team.
Well, you know what? Who has a say? The entire Pride of Detroit staff. As we continue Listcast, and this week we are doing cornerbacks. We're taking a quick break, and when we come back, we are diving into the top 10 cornerbacks of the NFL season upcoming. So you don't want to miss this. Stick around. We'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. All right. Let me see here. Chat box is up, I believe.
Yep, I got. There's someone hitting on me in chat. That's fun.
Yeah. Let's see.
whoa, hello.
And now mad that I'm not
There we
talking
go.
to them.
It's up there.
We don't talk during our in segments, just so you know.
So for those who aren't aware, Jeremy, since he moved to the new place, is having some technical difficulties with Streamlabs, who can't recognize his other monitor. So I'm running the show today, and as you can tell, I am janked.
Well, if there's anybody out there who knows what Jeremy is dealing with and has experienced this problem, we would love to subcontract you to go to his house and figure out
Listen,
what the problem is.
I've already tried have you tried unplugging it and plugging back in solution. No, literally, I did that to him. So
Did you try blowing into the port though?
Oh, I didn't do that. No, shoot. Can we restart it?
no, this isn't any N64 cartridge, Ryan. Not that you know what an N64 cartridge is. You're too young.
Shut your mouth.
Preseason champs. I'm pretty sure you cannot renew Prime on a mobile device. The mobile subscription thing is not great on Twitch. So
Yeah.
I just wait until you're on a non-mobile device to do it, I would say.
Twitch in general isn't great on mobile. It kind of shocks me.
The problem I'm having, I'm using Streamlabs OBS. I have a dual monitor set up. For some reason, it is not recognizing the second monitor, which is where I display capture from the second monitor. It's just not recognizing it at all. So
We'd
I
have to
restarted
probably
the
set
computer.
everything back up on your first display and then switch everything to the second. All your layout stuff
Right.
to the take
Yeah.
the bikini bottom and just move it over there.
right, but then I mean, Ryan and I are kind of joked about it. Like I would literally have to switch the placement of my monitors, and then I would have to change the camera to the other one and do a different angle. And I didn't want to go through it all. So I'll work on it this week. Hopefully it'll be set up by next week. I don't know if we're going to have a midweek podcast because Oregon State beat writers do not feel like talking to me for some reason. So I might try to
They
reach
put the hit out on
to-
you. They put the hit him out. They've
I
heard what you
guess.
said. They've heard what you said about him, man.
we made a unofficial agreement with Herman Moore and Lomas Brown when I went on their podcast that they would return the favor. So I'm gonna maybe try to set that up, if not this week,
Pull
sometime
lever?
very soon.
Yeah. Well, very soon, me and Ryan have to start thinking about our gambling podcast too, one leg at a time.
Yeah, that'll be good. I can't wait. I'm excited. 30 what do we say? Like probably like 30 minutes maybe.
That would be tops. I'm gonna produce
Yeah.
the hell out of it. That probably isn't going to be. I'd like to have it on Twitch, but I don't think Jeremy's going to be there for it because I think that would make his brain explode if we did gambling talk. But that might be a feed exclusive one unless we like really produce the hell out of it.
LJ,
Yeah.
that's a really good question. I was thinking about something like that. Maybe I put it into a different port this time than last time. It's possible. I don't think I want to try it out right now.
Yeah,
because
let's
we're streaming,
not
but,
change horse to the middle of the stream. Yeah,
That's a good point.
I might actually have a really good guest for us, Ryan. Then, considering I just heard this guy has been looking for more appearances now that he's. I'll tell you off stream. Just weirdo stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All or nothing would be amazing. That I guess that's something to have your fingers crossed. They didn't do one last year, did they?
I don't think so, just because of how the season
of
kind
COVID?
Like
unfolded,
COVID.
yeah.
I'm sure COVID would have made it tough. But if they, I mean, all or nothing.
Because
I
they
would
shoot
love.
most of All or Nothing during the preseason too, right?
All or nothing goes the entire season.
The entire season, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably that was probably it then. They probably couldn't get like a crew in through with the protocol.
Yeah, I want, and I don't think they've officially set any sort of, outlines for full COVID protocols in 2021. So I don't even know if that would be possible yet. There's the whole vaccinated versus unvaccinated player thing happening, and I don't know how. I guess probably Amazon that produces the show. That whole crew would probably have to be vaccinated to be allowed to even do that.
Well, it says that they did a 2021 season for the Maple Leafs. So if they're willing to do an ice hockey one, I'm sure they're ready to do a football one.
I feel like All or Nothing will be the Bills or the Titans. Okay, I can see that. Bills
I
are
guess
kind of a hot team.
Yeah, theme of being like a newcomer to being a playoff contender kind of thing. Like those aren't really traditional powerhouses.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess, I don't know, looking back at the seasons they did, Cardinals, Rams, Cowboys, Panthers, and Eagles. I think, I don't know, if the Lions don't get it, it's just cool. Like that season they did with the Eagles, the Lions played them, I'm pretty sure, pretty early in the season.
I'm surprised they didn't do the Bengals.
That's right. Yeah, that was like the third game, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Decker was resistant to getting vaccinated. Do you know roughly how many players are not getting vaccinated?
It's a lot. It's a lot. I think it's more
I know
than
the
people
NFL's
realize.
dragging for sure. What I think I saw that 2 teams had hit like the 80% mark. Like that's it. I feel like at one point it was closer to 50-50 during OTAs. I don't think we've heard anything else since. I bet it's a little bit more. If I had to guess, it's probably like 60, 65.
Someone
maybe.
tells me the NFL is just kind of staying quiet on it because it's pretty low, and they don't want the bad press of that it's a league that's just not vaccinating. Although, I mean, maybe they would, because then they can just push that on the PA and their eternal labor war. But
Sunk in place.
sorry,
It's happening again.
Yeah, I know.
I'm stirring
Every
in some,
single time.
I'm stirring in some sugar to my tea.
Schefter, yeah, that's what she said too. Schefter reported that 65% of the league's players have received at least one shot of the COVID-19 vaccine.
There you go.
That's pretty low.
And that was back on June 25th.
So about a week ago.
Yeah. The third team, I don't know if it's surprising or not, but the third team was the Pittsburgh Steelers to have over 85% of their players fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
I don't think they do the Giants. I think they would probably do if they're going to do one of the two New York teams, they probably do the Jets. Like the Giants, there's nobody on that. Like I know we meme about Danny Dimes, but I don't think there's any. The Giants are once again
Fake one, baby.
The Giants are once again the boring. Oh yeah, they exist and they will probably do okay. New York Giants.
They might be okay.
I think they can win that division.
Anyone can win the NFC East at any
true.
point in time.
That is,
even if they're mathematically eliminated, they can still win the NFC East.
That's true.
I don't want to be dumb, but I think I'm going to be dumb because why not? What is life if you're not going to, step out on a ledge? I think Daniel Jones might be like a top 10 quarterback this year.
What?
I hope to see that represented in your list cast then. No, you won't take that. You won't take that plunge. He won't take that plunge. He will say he might be a top 10 quarterback, but you will not put it in writing.
We'll see.
Jesus. Look, I think he has been improving. I could see this being either. I could see his career going either way right now with this season.
Is this like Kenny Galladay postpartum depression? Is that what's happening right now?
Quit trying to psychoanalyze everything.
It's not always about the Lions.
When I say TJ Hawkinson is going to be like a top 10 quarterback.
Brian, I have a psychology degree.
It's
in my nature.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Brenna.
Wow.
Last year, the team that had the lowest pass blocking grade in the league and the 8th worst receiving grade, New York Giants.
Did they do anything to fix the first one?
Good question.
All right.
I saw a stat from PFF that like Daniel Jones was in the top 3 in terms of deep targets.
Yeah, I saw that same stat. He does get it down the field.
And
he can almost run the entire field too. Almost.
Hey, I mean,
I've seen worse. Let me just put. Actually, I haven't seen worse, but I would like to think that I've seen worse.
Let's see Matthew Stafford do that.
Watch yourself.
Yeah.
You watch your mouth.
Matt Stafford would run 20 yards, and then his back would just self-destruct.
Well, I wasn't on the TikToks. I was on the Instagram Reels, and I don't know.
Here we go again. This is a new bingo card, by the way.
Whatever. I feel like the content is being obviously filtered, and certain things are being sent to me. But I'm getting NFL clips now, and one of the NFL clips I got was Jared Goff running down the sideline, and he gets blown up by Richard Sherman. But right behind Richard Sherman was Cam Chancellor, and Cam Chancellor was about to absolutely annihilate Jared Goff.
Just two lions in the savannah chasing down a gazelle. Just
like Richard Sherman saved Jared Goff by hitting him instead of Cam Chancellor. But Jared Goff can kind of move.
Sure.
Nope.
Hold on.
Nope.
I'm trying to fit him into my quarterback box. I want him to be.
Matthew Stafford could move more than he can.
Matthew Stafford win. Matthew Stafford in 2016, yes. Matthew Stafford in 2021.
Right now. Could beat him in a foot race.
with a reconstituted back.
It's not true because I saw via Jared Goff's girlfriend's Instagram that he's actually pretty good at dancing.
Do we need to bonk you right now?
No.
Oh, you're just okay. Just football updates from Jared Goff's wife.
Listen, we're not going to sit here. We're not going to just girlfriend.
Kristen Harper.
I would rather talk about Jared Goff's girlfriend than Zach Wilson's.
She has a name, okay?
Than Zach Wilson's mother today.
Outwoked me.
I did outwoke you.
I was very careful when I was writing the article about David Blau's wife, whose name I don't currently remember. But for that exact reason, where it's you don't want the headline to be David Blau's wife makes the Olympics. You want to
Melissa
actually put her name
Gonzalez?
on there.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Colombia.
like there was who was it? Oh, I don't know if she's still dating him, but Osaka was dating YBN Corday, who's a rapper, and there was a headline about like YBN Corday's girlfriend advances in her tennis match or something like that, and I was like, way more people know who Osaka is than
Right.
Corday. Like,
It is fun when like they play with that, and like when it was like Danica Patrick's boyfriend gets eliminated from playoffs or something.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's funny.
That
That's
was
funny.
funny. Yeah.
I like when they do that.
One other bit of NFL news that I don't think we would necessarily cover on the podcast, but for all of you Twitch viewers, Ryan Ramczyk got paid. New Orleans
Did he?
Saints right tackle. Yeah, he got a 5-year, $96.65 million contract, including a $19 million signing bonus.
It's about 19 a year, right?
Yeah, highest paid right tackle in the NFL, and man,
Way more than Taylor Decker's getting.
way more than Taylor Decker, right? Like
Yeah.
Taylor Decker stands as being like an awesome contract.
Yeah, I mean that's. I was going over that today because I wrote that article about Taylor Decker and how he's probably a top 10 left tackle, maybe even more. But his contract, his cap hit next year moves to like 18 million, but he's making 15 million a year in terms of average salary, and even that 18.5 million is like 7th among left tackles, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. And considering it's only in the second year of his extension, like, and that's the biggest cap hit he's going to have, that's a pretty good contract. Like, and I know we don't like to give Bob Quinn a lot of credit, but he got that one right. Got the pick right, got the extension right. Good job. Good job, Bob Quinn.
Ryan Ramczyk for like name bracket for all the NFL has to be up there as a top seed.
I don't know what I think about the name Ryan.
Did you guys see? I hope nobody, by the way, in our chat in this podcast has the kind of awful relation they have with their parent as Zach Wilson apparently has with his mother. Where apparently, according to her, he was offering her money to get off social media.
You know, I remember something during the. I feel like it was the days leading up to the draft. Like they were
Yeah.
all in the car, and like she was recording a video of them, like their entire family, and like Zach included, they were all like riding to, I think, like the hotel for like the draft or something like that. And like, I just remember like her personality and being like, man, if that was my mom, and like this is like
See,
one of
she
the
got-
biggest
she
moments in
got-
my life. Like,
She got in trouble because she was doing some like anti-mask thing at some point, I believe. Like she had
Oh,
recorded herself
okay. Yeah,
and
she
like
sounds like a real winner.
just getting mad. She was getting mad about something. I forget the actual thing, but like yeah, basically she is. Yeah, it's like her social media presence is very acidic, and I think Zach Wilson
Crit-
kind of.
I was gonna say, Chris, do tell me more about a person attached to a quarterback going on social media and voicing her feelings on COVID-19. I've never experienced this before.
Oh, it took me a second. Okay. Now that's different. That's like, I mean, not quite different, but yeah. Nick the Greek, I see your 200 bits, and I see you wanting to say Matt Patricia's ample bosom. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm running the stream here today. By the way, Brenham 30 resubscribed at tier 2 for 9 months in a row. I missed that too. I'm sorry.
One of these, I know I keep saying this, Brennan, and I can't remember who's the one that has the tier 3 sub, but at some point I am going to get you a tier 2 and a tier 3 emote just for you guys, for that extra appreciation. If you guys actually have requests, feel free to send them my way and I will make it happen.
And Nick the Greek comes in with another 100 bits for $3 American. You can do a lot with a $3 bill.
One of the other things I wanted to just mention real quick about the Ramczyk contract was a very like interesting incentive that was in his contract. The Saints wrote a $1 million salary escalator into Ramczyk's contract if he is named All-Pro first team or second team at left tackle.
Weird. That
Very
seems like
interesting.
very much in control. The team is very much in control of that.
Well, especially because they have an awesome left tackle in Taron Armstead. Like,
Right.
But he's a pending free agent after the 2022 season.
I'm
So I
sorry.
wonder if they would move him. But
I'm trying to get my head into what you're saying, Ryan, but I keep looking at this picture you guys were bandying around the other night of the hot dog taco.
Oh, you want to talk about Mike's hot
I really
dog taco?
don't. I really don't. I've already had the inevitable doing sports talk radio. Do you put ketchup on your hot dog discussion? And the idea that still in 2021 people are like, I don't see you as a human being if you put ketchup on your taco is like, I mean, that is one of the ultimate old guy.
You said ketchup on your taco, by the way, which sounds
Wow.
awful.
Well, that's what happens if you go to Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
I stand for those
God.
tacos, by the way. They're great.
Oh yeah.
No.
There's only
Like
two
one
levels.
of the
There's only
few reasons.
Well, their late night munchie meals are good, but like I only have two levels of tacos: really good street taco and Jack in the Box, two for $1.25 tacos with American cheese.
Throw that slice of American cheese and let that grease saturate that corn tortilla shell.
I know, like, sometimes people, like, exaggerate and joke, like, oh, this jelly donut's going to take a year off of my life. I'm convinced Jack in the Box tacos might actually do that.
Well, how many have I had then? I'm trying to count how many years have taken off my life. Quite a few.
Hey,
The one thing they
I don't
get
know.
right about it is hot sauce. There should be more tacos that come
Yes.
with hot sauce just in it. Like, Taco Bell, don't ask me if I want any hot sauce packets. Just put it on. Because that's the American way. 4th of July, everybody. Put
Alright.
hot sauce on your tacos.
Put hot sauce on your tacos, and if you want to, put ketchup on your hot dog. I don't care anymore. Like, who's still out here like parading against putting ketchup on a piece of meat that is of dubious origins? And I just said piece of meat. That's probably going to get clipped.
I like that. I hope that gets clipped right after it too. But can we talk about the greatest individual competitor in the history of sport?
Joey Chestnut,
Joey Chestnut, I knew it.
dude.
Let me just ask a question. Jeremy, do you think that in the 10 minutes that Joey Chestnut ate 76 hot dogs, will you eat 76 more hot dogs in your entire life?
I've eaten 4 hot dogs in the past week.
Wow.
Wow. That's very brave.
That is.
I'm fully blaming my new roommate for all 4. He peer pressured me into getting Coney dogs that were not particularly great, but they were Coney dogs. So low bar.
Can we
And then,
talk?
something-
I had a couple on 4th of July. I mean, you kind of have to, right?
Which is another thing that Jared Goff doesn't know about.
True.
He doesn't know about Coney dogs. He doesn't know what they are.
Wow, we could
That
blow
was a
his
plus
mind.
in my book. And just goes to show you that like trying to make Coney dogs a thing in Detroit isn't working. Like no one cares.
I feel like Detroit-style pizza has become the bigger institution now.
As it should.
No, it should. It
It's actual
absolutely
good
should.
food.
It absolutely should. I'm just saying that I think if I ask more people about the cuisine of Detroit, like first they'll be like, "Oh, Detroit's got this cuisine," but if they actually knew anything, it would be the Detroit pizza first, rather than the Coney Island.
It just sucks because it's not as good as a Chicago deep dish pizza.
Heresy. You want to hear some of Joey Chestnut's other records, by the way?
Chicago
we've-
dogs are better than Coney dogs, by the way.
I don't know about that. I don't like salad on it. See, I'm in
I
love
feel like
with
that's a good take.
I am in love with the with those weirdo Coliseum Danger Dogs here in LA, which are like bacon wrapped, and you can get like a whole half of a grilled jalapeno with it. That's how I roll.
I've definitely had a street, a like 1 a.m. street dog in LA where they're
Bacon
grilling
wrapped,
peppers and
yeah.
onions and bacon wrapped.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Let's see here. His other Joey Chestnut's other world records, which, by the way, Ryan, to your point, like, does anyone even remember the name Kobayashi at this point?
I do, but I only remember him as the footnote to Joey Chestnut's greatness.
Yeah, but I was going to say, he was Joey Chestnut before Joey Chestnut. Joey Chestnut came around and just aced him.
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
there was like a whole controversy around him, right? Like he got banned from the event or something a while
Yeah,
back.
he was using PEDs.
What, weed?
No, that's for another
Honestly,
sport.
that would not be fair.
that is.
drug.
No,
Just
yeah, who was it?
munchies?
Our friend who's been on the show, Bernie Frada, was floating that on the radio the other night. And I kind of agree with him. I remember getting like a huge Euro platter one night while I was baked out of my mind and just devouring all of it. And then the next, I think 2 weeks after, I'm like, these were really good. I want to get them again. And I maybe made it through like 2/3 before feeling just gross.
Give us some of these other records, though, Chris.
These are going to gross
we
you.
get
So
back
yeah,
into
we've got
segment
76 on hot dogs, but 30 fish tacos in 5 minutes.
Into it.
141 hard-boiled eggs in 8 minutes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
It happened in 2013.
Yeah.
You know why that one's bad is because that seems like a particularly bad vomit.
That's
backup.
cholesterol. That's like cholesterol just destroying you. Yeah.
Like throwing back. Yeah, throwing up because I'm throwing whatever these things up back again, and I don't know. Hard boiled egg seems like that would be rough. It'd be chunky and gross.
So, do you know what a crystal hamburger is?
Yep.
No.
They're basically like White Castle. They're like the
That's
South's
nice.
version to White Castle.
How many of those he put down?
103 Crystal Burgers in 8 minutes in 2007.
Ah, dude, like, just a God-given talent.
118 jalapeno poppers in 10 minutes in 2006.
That's gonna be awful. Either coming up or going down.
Here's something.
Either
Here's
way.
something very close and dear to our hearts. 165 pierogies in 8 minutes in 2014.
I'll take that.
Keeping the Detroit theme, 30 euros in 10 minutes.
It's a lot of bread.
That is a lot.
That's
of bread.
€3 a minute.
Yeah, I could. I love euros, and I couldn't do that.
That's
Oh
a
my.
euro every 20 seconds.
Just
Oh my
tzatziki
God.
sauce coming out of your nose at that point.
Oh my. Oh. 300. Okay. Go on.
Go ahead.
No, I
I was gonna say one of my favorite things about the hot dog eating contest is seeing, like, I don't know how anybody could dunk a hot dog bun in water and be like, this is going in my mouth and all the way into my stomach, and doing it 76 times.
It just feels like
Like-
torture. It feels like just absolute torture.
Will you watch him eating and he's got like the body roll going? Because I guess that's like helping it move
Digest?
down.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
384 gyoza in 10 minutes. Over 38 gyoza a minute. I can't even eat 6 gyoza in a minute. Are you kidding?
Does he have any pizza records?
Yeah, I'm looking. Let me see. Let me see what we can find for pizza.
Like what is
Yes.
you know what would be a great contest is Totina pizza rolls because it's going to be like 5
my gosh.
because they're lava.
I've got one. I've got one. Yeah.
It's like you have to sign a waiver before you do the Totino's pizza rolls eating contest.
I've got one pretty close to you. Do you remember the P-Zones from Pizza Hut?
Yeah.
Those like molten calzones, the folded over?
Yeah. Yep.
7.5 P-Zones in 10 minutes. And then here we go. Pizza 2-foot slices. 6.5 2-foot slices in 10 minutes. So do the math.
Wait, 2-foot slices are like
13 feet of pizza.
that long?
13 feet of pizza in 10 minutes.
He's not 13 feet tall. Where does it go? I don't understand.
102 tamales in 12 minutes.
That sounds like a lot.
Going back to our earlier conversation about fast food tacos. 53 soft beef tacos from Taco Bell in 10 minutes.
How many? That's 2.5 Crave cases, or whatever they call it. I guess Crave cases is White
Oh
Castle.
my
I don't know what they call
gosh.
Oh my
it.
God.
Party packs.
185 croquettes in 10 minutes.
What's a croquette?
It's basically they're like
I'm not entirely
no
sure.
no it's like a hush puppy except it's like potatoes in it.
Oh,
It's just deep fried mashed potatoes pretty much.
Okay.
Here's one for our north of the border people. 28 pounds of poutine in 10 minutes.
that's my goat.
That's
Joey
my
Chestnut
quarterback.
is-
That's my
he's
quarterback.
the greatest individual performer in the history of sport.
I'm just imagining like a boxer trying to get to a certain weight right before a fight. Just 20 pounds of poutine. He's like, oh, I'm way underweight.
God.
Bring in 20 pounds of poutine, and I'll pound it in 10 minutes.
In 2013 in Minneapolis, he ate 54 beef brain tacos in 8 minutes.
That's way too niche.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Joey.
25 Cat's Delicatessen half pastrami sandwiches in 10 minutes.
So 10 sandwiches.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to desserts then. I don't know what a long form burrito is, so I'm just moving to desserts. 55 glazed donuts in 8 minutes.
Chestnut. What now? 55 in 8 minutes?
Yes.
So he has diabetes.
I'm not done yet. At Petco Park in 2018, 25 and a half ice cream sandwiches in 6 minutes.
Now, see, that's impressive because the first year that I was at Ford Field, I think I had 16
Oh, total.
total. Yeah.
In what?
And that was over
5 games?
I think I went to 5 games, yeah.
Well, let's do the grand finale then. Ready? Oh, actually, I have two.
Well,
Let's go back to this real quick. 32
Yeah,
Big
I was gonna
Macs in
say-
8 minutes.
That's a lot of bread, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, the Petco Park one,
Yeah.
was that the ice cream sandwich?
Yes.
When the lights are their brightest, Joey Chestnut shows up.
Well, let's talk about the absolute GOAT showing up here at the World Hostess Donuts Eating Championship. Hosted 257 Hostess Donuts in 6 minutes.
Oh, like the frosted one? The little mini
Yes.
frosted ones? Or
Yes.
Come on.
he's gonna this is gonna make me hate food. Like I now I don't want any of these things because they've been molested by Joey Chestnut.
Wow. Never phrase it that way again. Ever.
I'm sorry.
Ever.
I couldn't think of a better word.
I'm not really that hungry anymore. I wonder if there's any. Do you think there's any food that Joey Chestnut's like, I don't like that, so I'm not.
I mean,
Vegetables,
he's
apparently.
hit.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna say
There's
he's hit seafood on here, so he clearly has no problem with seafood.
Doesn't he have like the world record for like most like cabbage eaten or something like that too?
Let me see. Cabbage. No, nothing on cabbage here on Wikipedia. Unless someone beat him on that record. He did eat 15 bowls of gumbo in 8 minutes.
I want an eating contest with just healthy things. Just like
How many carrots can you eat?
Where are we going to shove those carrots?
how many ounces of kombucha can you drink?
Oh my
Oh, God. You get drunk.
The
Are you
amount of
kidding me?
gut rut you would have.
Oh, God. I can't even drink one bottle of kombucha without feeling awful. I genuinely don't see what people see in it.
Oh, did you see? So, well,
Sorry.
before the hot dog eating contest, did you see what they had to like kick off the event?
No.
Was that the lemonade chugging contest?
2 dudes drinking a gallon of lemonade each.
Listen, if you get that lemonade from Chick-fil-A, I can see it.
This guy was eating him up though, like,
Yeah.
and the announcer was like, "No dribbling it down your chin." And this guy's like, "Gah." He's like, and like he was the announcer is awesome because he goes, oh, he had to spend time coming up for a belch, and then like he had to do it again. He's like, that's
Yeah,
another
just
belch.
lean into it. Just lean into it, man. If you're doing the if
he
you're
was
doing
also
the
like-
Nathan's contest, just yeah.
He was also he was burping / primal screaming.
You have to. You have to, man.
I
Anyways,
like it though.
That's our disgusting eating roundup, I guess.
How much prune juice can he drink? That is a great question. Anything about chicken wings? Yes, chicken wings. The first, I think that was one of his first world records, 2007. Chicken wings says long form. I don't know what long form means. It means the whole wing. I don't know. Either way, 182 wings in 30 minutes.
Bone and all.
Yeah, I'm looking around. The only vegetables really on here are potatoes. I mean, unless you're counting the sauerkraut on those. Well, that's pastrami sandwich, not Reuben.
Let's guess time.
Yeah, I think I've made myself sick, and I'm already sick. I'm already having stomach cramps today, so. Hence
I think
the
we just
drinking
said
of juice.
we just set the world record for kind of like talking around getting back to a list cast.
Not really. We haven't hit the hour mark. We've done these pretty long before, so. Let's get back.
Well,
into it, though.
maybe in the long form contest, but I don't know. I need to know what long form means.
Yeah.
You guys can go ahead. I'm gonna Google.
Well, I was gonna get back into it, but yeah.
It used to be on Grantland.
Stupid.
Jeremy, do I need to make a new? Okay, I see listcast text here. I see what I need to do. Oh, shit. Oh, I've got a.
Did you know that puking up the hot dogs? Oh no.
Disqualifies
Before the end of the contest is a disqualification.
Yeah. As it should be.
People are going to complain about this one because I know my typing is pretty loud.
They're going to have to deal with it. I'm sweaty.
You ready to go?
Did you get your answer?
No, but we're good.
All right.
By the way, thank you for Katie from MI for the 200 bits in the midst of Nick the Greek spamming us with bits about Matt Patricia. Thank you.
Nick 3 also dropped an additional 520 after that.
Yeah, cheer 420 in memory of Matt Patricia's Infinite Munchies. Another 100 bit Joey Chestnut versus Matt Patricia in a play calling eating contest. Like. Jeremy, you need the force the rest of the POD staff on these listcasts to defend their positions. That is true.
I could, but here's the thing: the ballots are mostly confidential.
No,
but
I break
aren't ours.
that.
Like we'll mention. What?
I'll break that confidentiality every
Oh
time.
no, you do it a little bit here and there, but I'm saying like the entirety of them are not available to the public.
Yeah,
Unless I want
that is true. All right, let's go. Boom, listcast time. Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit POD cast. It's time to listcast. We listcast. Listcast. It can be a verb, a noun, adverb, adjective, all those things. I just use it there, and you can't tell me otherwise. We are ranking the top 10 cornerbacks for the NFL season 2021. As always, this is a poll we have taken among the Pride of Detroit staff for those brave enough to answer, to give us their polls. They have been combined, juiced together, blended. We are looking for top players at this point in their career for this one upcoming season. These selections are made independent of scheme, current weapons, coaching, etc. And we have our top 10 together. Jeremy, this one was a really rough one. because I feel like the cornerback position. This is probably the same last year too, but it's been in flux for a little bit because all the big names I feel like are gone. Darius Slay, we're not considering top 10 anymore. Richard Sherman, way off here. There's a couple of names you'll find familiar, but this is a position in flux, and I can absolutely see it by just how many guys. We had 20 players receiving votes. 20. That's the most we've had in any listcast so far.
Yeah, probably in history, to be honest. And it's tough because cornerback's such a wavering position in that, like, you're going to get beat. Like, there's no perfect corner out there, and sometimes you're just going to have a down year, and it's up to us to kind of sift through that and be like, okay, which player had a down year, which player is on a downward swing, which player is done, which player has hit that wall. And, I think there's a lot of consensus among the top 3 or 4 or so. But once you get down there, there's a lot of guys. There's a couple of guys that, one guy that, was, I think, our consensus number 1 pick last year. And a lot of people didn't even have him on his list this year after a rough season. So we're going to see a lot of kind of big names either not on the list, like you mentioned, or maybe lower on the list than they were last year, just because it's that position that you're not going to see. What makes you a good cornerback is consistency, but it's elusive. It's very, very elusive. So you have I think a lot of the guys on our list are guys that had one really good season last year. Whether they'll be on our list next year is really a big question because that consistency is really, really tough at the position.
And then you have different aspects to the position too, right? Mm-hmm. Like how highly are you, putting an emphasis or an onus on players playing nickel corner, playing in the slot? How many, are you? That was something that I found to be difficult in my list when I was putting together my top 10. Is like, obviously the outside corners are the big money makers. Those are the high profile guys. Those are playing cornerback is probably the most difficult position in football, I think, because as Jeremy mentioned, like, you're going to get beat. It's just about like mitigating those bad plays and like trying to be as good as you can on each play. And there's a lot of different elements to being a really good cornerback. And I think that, with the talk that we had about running backs, where it's like, receiving backs or true running backs. Well, like with cornerbacks, it's like not only just like, slot or outside, but it's like, how about guys who are really good in the run game? How about guys who play primarily zone coverage? How about, because that was the talk about Richard Sherman for so long, is it was like, he plays zone coverage. He's not like a man-to-man defender like, Stephon Gilmore, or another guy who's kind of fallen off of our list is like Patrick Peterson, for instance, who is also somebody who is eternally 29 years old. But I think that when putting together my list, those were some of the difficulties that I had in terms of, placing guys is like, okay, but like this guy plays outside corner. Where does the slot corner fit in and things like that?
It's funny you mentioned. Sorry, I just blanked. What was the name again? You just
Patrick Peterson.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned Patrick Peterson, one of the guys not receiving votes. Darius Slay not receiving votes at all. Richard Sherman obviously not receiving votes, even though I think he's had a bit of a resurgence with his late career. He's been doing all right there. But yeah, it's rough to do this. But are there any names you guys want to hit on before we do the top 10? Because as I said, I have almost as many names outside the top 10 that have received votes. Is there anything we can even harp on?
I'm not going to harp too much on this guy, but I think he was either number 1 or number 2 a couple of years ago. Marshawn Lattimore is a guy that I had number 10 on my list. He did not make this our list. He was 11th, thanks to, I think it was Eric who had him 5th or so. He's a guy who's certainly fallen off a little bit, but he's had at least 10 passes defended in all 4 years of his career over there at the Saints, and nothing is going to compare to that rookie season in which he had 5 interceptions and really was one of the best defensive players in the league his rookie season. But I don't know. I still think he has it in him. He's obviously still very young. He does have a suspension looming, so I didn't really factor that in necessarily. I'm just kind of talking about his talent. But I was a little surprised to not. Only me and Eric voted for him, so I was a little surprised that the other 5, 6, 7 other guys.
We do have a rookie receiving votes, thanks to Ryan with J.C. Horn.
Yeah, dude, JC Horn's going to be good. He's going to be really good. Like, I think that he's going to be a name that's going to be on everybody's
For
list next year.
rookie of the year, maybe on your list for the
Yeah,
league.
for sure.
Did you have Jeff Okudah on your list last year?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But
Understandable.
this is one of the interesting things about this list and listcast in itself. We always talk about how it's important to show consistency, especially with the cornerback position. But it's also important to note that like it's not always an upward trajectory. But
Yeah.
Lattimore's PFF grade has fallen every single year since he was a rookie. Went from 86.1 to 77.5 to 65.6, and last year 59.1 when he allowed 7 touchdowns while he was in coverage, and that was the second most of any cornerback in the NFL. So like you're really like the talent's there. He's obviously proven that he's been really good in the past, but it's like, was that flash in the pan? Was that the victim of being in the right circumstances with the rest of that defense? And that's something obviously with Listcast that we try to sort out, is getting guys who are independent of the rest of their defense.
Right, and that brings us then to number 10 on our list. And you mentioned PFF, and this guy had very high marks for PFF. But as Jeremy pointed out, positional, just different for positional. And number 10 on our list is Bryce Callahan of the Denver Broncos, our highest rated slot corner here. I had him pretty high. I think my Jeremy, we can talk about this. Like, my rationale on that is, if we're going to give a lot of credit to slot receivers, which is becoming a bigger part of NFL offenses, we do need to, worry about who's going to be your slot nickel corner.
No, I mean it's why the Lions, invested so much in the position during the Matt Patricia era, is they knew it was important. Unfortunately, they couldn't get good production out of Justin Coleman, but it's becoming an extremely important position. I still think that the money is to be made on the outside, because that's where the biggest threats in the NFL are, the money makers in terms of wide receivers are. Bryce Callahan, I mean, had himself a year, and I think the reason he's down this far is because this is a bit of an anomaly for him. I mean, he's an undrafted guy who spent 4 years with the Bears and didn't really make a name for himself there. So he suddenly comes to Denver and is fantastic. He's third in PFF grade, 84.1, first in passer rating allowed in the NFL at 46.9. By a huge margin. 2 interceptions, but this is the tricky part of this entire thing, right? Is like there's not one good statistic for a cornerback, because interceptions, that's a big game-changing play, but if they're not throwing it your way, it's probably because you were doing your job right. Mm-hmm. And so, interceptions can be fluky. You can have one bounce off of someone else and land in your arms. Same with passes defended. If they're not throwing it to your side of the field, there's nothing you can do about it. And so PFF grade, I think a lot of people are going to heavily kind of rely on that. And Bryce Callahan, third. Period.
Yeah. I didn't have Bryce Callahan on my list. I had a guy who didn't make the list, who I think is probably the best slot corner in the NFL, and that's Kenny Moore from the Indianapolis Colts. Probably much to the chagrin of Chris Perfett, the resident Colt hater. But PFF, according to them, one of the top 15 most valuable cornerbacks in the entire league over the last 3 years, according to their wins above replacement metrics. So Callahan, it's interesting about cornerbacks when it comes to the nickel position, because it seems like guys who end up settling in the nickel position are guys who are either like undrafted guys who come into the league, or like you see these guys like change teams like kind of often, unless it's somebody like Chris Harris Jr. who was with the Broncos for so long. But like you see a lot of these guys just kind of like switch teams, like Troy Hill or Desmond King, or Brian Poole's even a free agent right now. Nicole Roby-Coleman, he's a free agent right now. Like some of these best slot corners, like these are guys that are constantly getting cycled in and out of teams.
Well, let's move on to number 9 then, and finally we get to a name that I think we recognize maybe. By the way, I just realized Josh Norman doesn't even have votes on here too, but I mean, granted, for good reason. But number 9 though on our list is not Josh Norman. It's Marcus Peters. Hey, how about that? A familiar name. He had 4 interceptions last year, 9 passes defended, 31st in passer rating allowed, up and down, but as you say, he's been consistent, Jeremy, and I think we can at least rely on that with Peters.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have Peters on my list. I don't know. I don't. He's a veteran. He's been around for a while. He's had some good years. He's one of the ones where I feel like they might be behind him, and I mean, he's 28, so he's still youthful. But last year, I don't think was a particularly good year for him. After would he get traded to Baltimore in 2019, and then last year was his first full year with Baltimore, and I don't know. I guess I think he's kind of lost a step, and maybe I'm not being fair, because if you look at some other names on my list like Marshawn Lattimore, I kind of have a little more blind faith in him, I guess. But I don't know. Tell me why I'm wrong, Ryan.
Well, I think the people who thump for Marcus Peters point to the fact that he has 31 interceptions since 2015, and that's 9 more than any other cornerback in the league. Partially inflated by that really big season he had in Kansas City, right? So,
yeah.
But I think with Peters, he's the epitome of like boom or bust guy. Like there are plays where he can get like completely blown out, and miss coverage, or his aggression is a little bit he's a little bit over aggressive, and that leads to a big play for the opposition. And I think that like when it comes to cornerbacks, like you want to limit those big plays as much as possible. I think those big plays are kind of like a stain on your resume, and that's why Marcus Peters wasn't on my list either, but the other guy who plays for Baltimore is pretty high on my list.
We'll get to them in a second, but first, for our number 8 pick, we're going to Cleveland. Denzel Ward, who for 3 seasons now, he's been looking pretty solid. I think last year he was tied for second for passes defended. Only 2 interceptions, but again, sometimes you just don't get those big, giant changing plays. But he's had 7 interceptions over his 3 years. One knock on him is he hasn't started every game in those 3 seasons. He's only played 12 games each season, but he's looked decent in all of them. And I remember in 2019 he had like 1 interception, went back like, what was it, a pick 6 for 61 yards, Ryan?
Yeah, here's the thing about Denzel Ward. He was higher on my list. I had him all the way up at number 6, but that's just because I think that he does one of the things in the NFL that people pay a premium for, and that's for guys who are dominant in single coverage. In his first 3 years in the league, he's allowed just 51.4% of the passes thrown his way in coverage to be completed, which I think is a really phenomenal stat. And I think he's kind of just like one of those guys that's kind of flown under the radar, and maybe Jeff Okudah might get that treatment as well, because Denzel Ward himself, a former top 5 pick, but he's also, and he's also just on a defense with like so many other big names like Myles Garrett and now Jadeveon Clowney and just some other big name players that have kind of gotten more of a rub than he has. But I think that he's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still like feeling that first impression of his rookie year where he just came onto the scene and looked like he belonged, Pro Bowl season, all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And while he hasn't, I don't necessarily think he's taken the next step since then. I don't think he's taken a step back either. And so now we're talking about a 24, 25-year-old kid who's still playing at a pretty darn good level, and only has 3 seasons under his belt. And yeah, I mean, Chris is right. Like, he's missed 4 games each season essentially. And we all know what the best ability is and all that sort of stuff. But cornerback is also a position where there's a lot of injuries. You're running a lot. There's a lot of soft tissue injuries,
a lot of cutting,
hammy pulls, and groin issues. Yep. Even I'm not going to put too much on him for missing 4 games a season. Playing 12 is maybe a better way to put it, because playing 12 is a lot of games. It's most of them.
It is, although, again, as you say, best ability is availability, as they would say.
They.
Who are you pointing to? Are you pointing to
Ryan?
Ryan?
On my screen, I was pointing to Ryan. I guess I should be just pointing down. Is that right?
Not a visual medium for our podcast listeners. I apologize. Number 7. Wow, we're really getting adequate on this one. We're going to New York. James Bradbury is your number 7 cornerback. Dave Gettleman went after him last year to, Gettleman had previously drafted him when he was in Carolina and inked him to a pretty huge 3-year deal. I think it was like, what, 43 million, about 32 million in guarantees. And he's been very solid for the New York Giants. He's last year, I think he was 6th in passer rating allowed. Again, I mentioned Denzel Ward. He's tied with Denzel Ward for 18 passes defended, and he's clearly Gettleman likes him and wants to keep him around in there, and they're getting a lot of value for the contract right now.
It's interesting, and this is the second example of a guy changing teams and suddenly kind of like clicking, and I think that speaks to maybe the value of coaching, the value of system fit, the value of a better supporting cast. Not that the Giants are necessarily a great supporting cast for a guy like him, but I do kind of like that story that Gettleman, we like to make fun of David Gettleman for a lot of things, but he saw the talent in the guy that he drafted, and he believed in him, and he didn't have a horrible career in Carolina, but didn't get re-signed there, and he believed in his drafting of him. He believed in his raw talent, and lo and behold, he has his best season with Carolina or with the Giants in his first year. And yeah, you just said it all. And to put on top of that, 79.8 PFF grade, by far his best season. And it just goes to show you how much a player succeeds is sometimes dependent on things outside of his control. And I think I'm saying this all with Jeff Okudah in the back of my mind, hoping that a new coaching staff will help turn that guy's career around.
We say Listcast is supposed to be irregardless of scheme, but I mean, this is a position where if you're not in the right scheme to succeed, you're lost, man. I hate to say that.
Yeah. The one last thing I'll say about Bradbury, it seems like he's trending in the direction that you want to be as a cornerback in terms of looking at how often he was targeted. In Carolina, he had seasons where he was targeted over 100 times, and last year it was just 78. So I know they signed Adoree Jackson this offseason, the Giants did. So I wonder if Bradbury becomes one of those guys who, puts himself in that rarefied air of cornerbacks who, don't even get looked at because you're not throwing to that side of the field.
Possible.
Yeah, very possible. Number 6, Buffalo Bills, Tre'Davious White. He didn't make my list because I feel like he's been going backwards kind of each in the last couple of years, but I think I was reading some Buffalo Bills writers talking about he could be a Defensive Player of the Year contender this year. I don't know if I see that, but 2019 he had a pretty big season. I think he was tied for 6 in intercept. He had 6 interceptions in 2019. Tied for the most.
That was kind of his breakout season, right? Like he was after. I have to imagine. I don't have a look at our 2020 list, but I have to imagine he was top 5, maybe even higher, top 3. Definitely came. I wouldn't say crashing down to earth last year.
People knew who he was though, and they started throwing away from him. Yeah.
There's probably a little bit of that going on, and now that Buffalo is just kind of like in the spotlight, I think maybe in general, like you start to see a little bit more of his flaws just because he's in there, and 68.5 PFF grade, 31st, so not where he was in the past couple of years, but I think he definitely deserves to still be on this list. I had him 6th, so this is right around where I think he deserves to be.
PFF gave him good grades though for pass rushing though, Jeremy. Apparently, bring him on a blitz and he'll be pretty good for you.
Well, so Tre'Davious White was the one guy who I was wondering about where I put him on my list because he's one of the better zone coverage cornerbacks in the league.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he has that kind of built into his into the scheme is his ability to be a blitzer and do things like that. But one of the stats that really stood out to me was 17.1% of the targets into his coverage have resulted in either a pass breakup or an interception over his career.
That's crazy.
That's a pretty ridiculous mark. So
yeah.
It's a lot of disruption.
I almost value that as much as, I know an interception can turn the field and all, but that's almost that's just, if you can get probably a good number of just breaking up those passes, I think I value that even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the antithesis of Nevin Lawson, a guy who could actually put his hands on balls and make plays. I'm sorry.
Put hands on balls and make plays. Wow. Okay. All right. With that, we're going to have to take a break. Cleanse out of their mind. Top 5 on the other side of this as we continue the Pride of Detroit PODcast Listcast season. Puts his hands on balls, huh?
Guy makes plays, puts his hands on balls.
I'm going to be honest to the chat. This one's a rough one for me just because, like, this is just, it's a position in so much flux. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna go feed my dog really quick and
Yeah,
step out into some air conditioning because I am sweating. Did you just hear him
you
making
don't
noise?
you don't have an AC in there. Yeah, you were telling me.
I not in my room, so I'll be right back.
Any good bets lately, Ryan?
You know, I've kind of been staying away from it recently.
Did you see that, since I've been watching a lot of the Euros, UEFA, I saw that Goldman Sachs has apparently gotten into sports gambling because apparently they had an algorithm. I just was reading something. Apparently they put together an algorithm, all these like past games to try to figure out who would win the Euros this year. And they had Belgium over England. And, like, A, Italy knocked them out, so Forza. But also, B, I just had to laugh because, like, oh, great. Yeah, Goldman Sachs is now into sports gambling.
It's not a winning proposition.
Clearly. LJ Burrough asks Bucks in 6. No, Suns in 6.
Suns in 3.
I was...
As in, I'm only going to watch 3 games and probably not even 3.
I think it'll be more competitive than the Stanley Cup final. I'll say that.
Yeah, playoffs have sucked in both this year.
I don't think it's...
NBA,
I like
NBA's everyone getting injured.
Yeah, so what? Like that
it's a superstar game, and the superstars are getting injured. What are we doing here?
Next man up.
Everyone skips half the season to not get injured in the playoffs and then gets injured in the playoffs. Great sport you got there, NBA.
I like these teams. We've been NBA fans have been complaining about super teams. We have 2 homegrown teams in the finals. Now everyone's saying it sucks. You can't have it both ways.
Homegrown teams.
No, they are, except for Chris Paul.
The Suns' second best player is a mercenary.
Okay, one mercenary. He wasn't dragging other people with him to Phoenix. And honestly, if Chris Paul gets a ring, I'm here for it. The guy's a damn villain. Could you imagine what... Actually, I want to pass this by Ryan. Do you remember he was with the New Orleans Hornets at the time, right? And they want, like, the Lakers put together a package to trade for him. He would have played with Kobe Bryant near the end of his career. But the Hornets were owned by the NBA at the time because their ownership had sucked. And they nixed the trade. And Chris ends up signing with the Clippers.
It was a deal. It was a deal that I know it included Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
I can't remember whether or not it included Pau Gasol as well.
I guess that leads me to ask you, like, there's only 2 ways his career with the Lakers would have gone. He would either be a much bigger name than he is, which he's already pretty big because of that giant State Farm sponsorship, or... And I was talking with a former Clipper, Ryan Hollins, about this, and Ryan was like, him and Kobe would have been at each other's throats.
Yeah. Here's what happened, because we kind of got Chris Paul in LA, if you want to consider the Clippers a Los Angeles team. But, like, I mean, they were like the hottest ticket in town for a while because the Lakers were bad. They were bad, but...
Well, they were bad because some would say they were bad because they couldn't get Chris Paul and the whole thing collapsed because Pau Gasol clearly didn't work out for them.
Yeah, so I think what would have happened, if Chris Paul would have went to the Lakers, I don't think that would have made him necessarily a bigger name, but he definitely would have became the scapegoat.
Yeah.
Like, because
I
we
agree.
know who would have been able to control that narrative, and that would have been Kobe Bean Bryant.
Mm-hmm. And as soon as it goes south, he'll just blame everyone. Yeah, he becomes, instead of Pau Gasol being the whipping boy, it would have been CP3.
Yeah, I mean, he drove Shaq out of town.
Yep.
Come on.
That's something we've kind of missed in Kobe's legacy, among other things. But, I mean, I think that's a hallmark of being a Laker, too, is you just fucking hate everyone else's guts on the Lakers.
Yeah. Zazu.
Hi, Zazu.
You guys get a freebie because I want to snuggle with him for a second. What are you doing?
Gasol was not in it. Odom was because he went to Dallas after that, says LJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a big three with Kobe, Pau, and Chris Paul would have been pretty good.
I think it could have worked out, but yeah, if it fell apart at any point, it would have been bad.
Yeah, because what the Lakers instead went the Steve Nash, Dwight Howard route. How'd that go?
Yeah. Oh, even worse. Wow. Yeah. The thing too is like, I mean, Kobe could have probably benefited with like a genuine point guard with him though, because the ball just went through him and he would just jack up shots from wherever near the end. And I mean, Chris Paul isn't a Steph Curry type of point guard. He is the true point guard who will get the ball out to the right people, which is what made Lob City work.
Well, so that's something about Kobe's career, though, real quick, is that people are quick to point out and say, oh, the best point guard he ever played with was Derek Fisher. And it's like, because who the hell do you think wanted to play point guard for Kobe Bryant?
Yeah. It's
like...
That's a tough ask. That's a tough ask because it feels like if you are a point guard and you kick the ball out to anyone but Kobe, he is slashing you in the media the next day.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy Reisman apparently would have stepped up to the challenge.
Yep. All I know is that the Suns are partially owned by Larry Fitzgerald. The Bucks are partially owned by Aaron Rodgers. I know which side I'm taking.
Suns and 6.
Yeah.
Chris,
I feel like
Ryan Hollins also had the crazy take this morning too that he thinks Chris Middleton, at least in the fourth quarter, is better than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Well, he's got a bigger package.
Okay.
I will expand upon that because I just realized what that sounded like. But like Chris Middleton's game is more varied, and he's got more stuff in his bag than Giannis does. What?
Fucking asshole. You know what damn well what you're doing. Every time.
Chris Middleton is a 3-level shooter. He can do it all.
In the bedroom.
Hey. Wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Gabagool.
Are they still running those commercials with Ashton Kutcher and Shaggy?
No, that was a Super Bowl commercial.
That was just a Super Bowl thing?
That was a Super Bowl thing.
Special.
Thank God.
Do we get I Think You Should Leave tomorrow?
Yes, we do. Technically at 3 a.m. tonight. Although if you're listening to this as either part of the Scraps or on YouTube or whatever.
Oh, shame Jeremy. He mentioned it. You're not supposed to mention the Scraps.
Self-aware.
I feel like we've got the bingo card ticking off pretty well. Chris, I talked about someone I work with on the radio. We talked about the Scraps. Ryan talked about
TikTok.
Yeah.
Packages.
Sexual innuendo is definitely on there.
Yeah, here comes Chunky
Food.
for Jeremy.
Ryan, I kind of had this question teed up just in case it came up.
Okay.
What's the best sketch show before this? What was the most recent sketch show that is as good as I Think You Should Leave?
Ian Peele.
I think that's probably right. But if season 2 is good, I think we might have to go back to Chappelle's Show.
I agree. But here, well, isn't that the thing that Dave always says? Which I think is kind of unfair, but like, the only reason Key and Peele was Key and Peele is because Chappelle left.
Maybe. They were very different shows, and they were good at different things.
I think it's unfair to kind of like undercut the talent that obviously both those guys have.
I mean, as we've seen with Chappelle coming back too, like it's not like he has exactly updated his material. Like
Yeah.
Key and Peele was much more cognizant for its time period.
The thing that Key and Peele did that I thought was very good was I thought they were very cinematic. Like
Yeah.
Chappelle's Show sketches looked like ass, and they don't hold up well in terms of how they look. They're bad. They're poorly edited, whatever. But who cares? The comedy's really good. It's a very good satire. All that's, I mean, it's a landmark show, no question. Probably top 3 sketch show of all time. But it looks like ass. Key and Peele, like, you can tell those guys were going to grow up and be film directors because they put a lot of thought into how that show looked, and I appreciate that.
Did you see the Apple TV show? I think it's the Apple TV movie that Keegan is doing with Cecily Strong from SNL.
Oh, I think I've heard.
It's a musical. I forget the
No.
name of it. Like they get trapped inside of like a musical, and like the only way they can get out is like with their true love, but like they're supposed to be like dating and they like can't escape together. So they're obviously like not
Is it out yet?
each other. No, I think it comes out later this month. But well, here's the other thing. Like Tim Robinson is obviously awesome.
Yeah.
Like he's great.
Jeremy.
Guys, I'm not at Ford Field.
Are you having the same problem I had where it's just the lighting just hits you at the right place and just kills it?
No, the green screen fell down.
Oh, wonderful.
I think why Chappelle is the benchmark for sketch comedy shows is because like he was the ringleader and he had awesome bit players that he was able to like tap into like the best parts of them, whether it was Charlie Murphy or it was Paul Mooney or whomever it was, Wayne Brady. Yeah. I mean, I watched the Wayne Brady episode the other day and like that's still like the pinnacle of like comedy, right? But
yeah.
So
Tim Robinson is kind of doing the same thing where like he's awesome in his own right, but like he's getting all of these like bit players who are like coming back and like I think really either like it's strengthening the sketches to a point where like they have like a cinematic quality to them as well.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Cecily Strong. Her and she was the wife in the magician, right?
The magic trick, yeah.
Yeah, that one's so good. Will Forte, I think, is great in the plane crying baby one.
Yeah, I think that one's a little overrated, but I think Will Forte is good in it.
Vanessa Bayer in the Instagram one, which is always under that's always like 30 on people's best sketches list, and I want to punch them through the screen. Like that's a top 10 sketch on that show to me. I love the Instagram one.
So this is a first off, I sent something to Ryan. I'm waiting for him to react. I sent something to him on Slack. B, this is just a rough thing because you guys keep saying sketch, and this is probably me being too much of a fucking weeb. Sketch is like, I guess, in Japanese manga, a euphemism for masturbation. And it's joked about constantly.
Oh, here we go.
So I'm just saying.
So sketch show, when we said those words, you were thinking something very different.
No, it's just I know what you're talking about. It's just I just can't get the connection out of my head at this point because I'm such a fucking
okay,
weeb.
you weeb.
I am calling myself a weeb right now. What else do you want from me?
I want
just to be into hentai right now.
Well, speaking of weeb, I probably share with the class what I sent to Ryan, shouldn't I?
I was going to say you're weak because you lack family.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's Jeremy's two favorite things: anime and Fast and the Furious.
Is there any way you can get it?
No one can see that.
Oh right, crap.
Is there a way you can
right.
get a championship belt in there?
Hold up. Let me see. Do we have like a layout for?
Just desktop.
Desktop? Okay. There we go. Dale.
I don't know what's happening in the right side of that.
It's a meme on Twitter, Jeremy. There's usually that's clipped in there. It's like someone's hand. It's kind of like with the. I don't know. I'm doing the thing.
Did I try to tape this green screen back up, or am I just going like very I don't know why it has me so dark.
I don't understand why all these memes are a thing all of a sudden. Welcome to
The internet.
yeah.
Welcome to the internet. Have a look around.
I remember coming up when it was like the height of personal comedy you could do. It was the original meme was basically quoting Monty Python and the Holy Grail from memory. That was like the original, like, you were funny on the internet if you just randomly quoted Monty Python.
If you just said the words "the knights who say
Me.
knee,"
Or the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, or anything from that.
or whatever the bird one, the dead bird one.
Dead Parrots, the
that
Dead
one.
Parrot sketch, yeah. I said
I'm-
sketch again.
I don't think I'm that big of a Monty Python fan, and I can't say that too loudly
My
because
dad-
my
my
roommate
dad
will kill
was
me if
really-
he hears me say that.
My dad got me into that old comedy. He liked Monty Python, and he liked the Peter Sellers, Pink Panther movies, which are, if you can find them anywhere, they're still phenomenal. Like
My roommate loves those.
like
That's-
the joke, "Does your dog bite?" is an all timer. It was like from the third movie. No, you don't remember that one? Okay.
I haven't seen it.
Oh man, I think it's Pink Panther Strikes Again. Henry Lom's character, Inspector Dreyfus, basically goes insane and becomes a Bond villain. It's really good. It's probably the best one, but it has a great joke in there. I was like, "Does your dog bite?" The guy's like, "No." I know telling the joke is not making it funny, but. So Peter Sellers goes to pet the dog. I thought you said your dog does not bite. And the joke back is, "That's not my dog."
That was pretty good. I think we're gonna have a Boomer Scraps.
A Boomer
Because
Scraps.
There's no chance anyone under 30 has ever seen any.
Yeah,
of the
I
Pink
think
Panther
most
movies.
people know when I say Pink Panther, they think of the one with
Installation, Steve Martin.
Steve Martin. Thank you. Yeah, I always blank on Steve Martin's name because I want to call him. I get him confused from the guy with
Chevy Chase.
No, I get him confused with the guy from Police Academy, from Naked Gun.
Oh, Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen. Yeah,
How
they
dare you?
both look similar.
I guess they kind of look similar.
Yeah,
Just gray hair.
I could see him playing Leslie Nielsen in like a biopic.
My fiance gives me so much shit because I think that Sandra Bullock and Julia Roberts are like doppelgangers for one another.
Wait, hold on. I like the fact that you think there's going to be a biopic about Leslie Nielsen played by Steve Martin instead of the other way around.
Yeah, the other way around. Is Leslie Nielsen
Wisconsin
alive?
Lion fan, one of the best call and response jokes ever. I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. Like, fuck, that's
Oh,
classic.
Leslie Nielsen died 11 years ago.
That's
I know,
right.
I know. It's funny. I think. Do you guys remember it was Dracula Dead and Loving It? It was a late. Oh fuck! What's the
know of
director's
it.
name? What's the director?
I remember seeing the DVD cover
Mel Brooks?
for it. a bunch
It
of
was
times.
Mel Brooks. It was Liam Neeson
was
in a
Mel Brooks?
Mel Brooks. It was Liam Neeson in a Mel Brooks comedy making fun
Liam
of
Neeson,
the
huh?
Francis
Was it-
Ford Coppola.
Was it Taken?
What?
You said Liam Neeson.
Leslie Nielsen. Sorry. But it was parodying the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula.
And now
Oh.
Ryan does an impression of Liam Neeson in Naked Gun.
Gee, fuck
Just kidding.
off.
You've never seen Naked Gun.
Wait, Ryan
Have
hasn't
you-
seen The
have you
Naked
seen-
Gun?
I'm assuming.
Please tell me. Ryan.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but to be honest, like the thing that I most recognize Leslie Nielsen from is from Airplane.
If you like
I was afraid you were gonna
Airplane,
say Scary Movie.
Naked Gun is way up there with it. Also, for the fact, like the only downside to Naked Gun is O.J. Simpson. But O.J. Simpson repeatedly gets like horrifically injured in the movie, so that's kind of cool.
Sure. Yeah.
That's like the reoccurring gag.
Leslie Nielsen was he was legally deaf. Did not know that. Wore hearing aids for most of his life.
Really?
I don't know that either. Hold on, I'm going to go fix my green screen. Keep talking.
Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part Deuce are also good Leslie Nielsen movies. I haven't seen those, but I have to check those out. Those sound pretty good. Oh, sorry.
Definitely not as Canadian
I feel like
actor.
comedy movies have really, I don't know. I can't think of the last good comedy movie I've seen. I'm almost dread to say it was Tropic Thunder.
Oh my gosh, that was. I was in high school.
Yeah, that was over 10 years ago. I know.
There's been funny movies that have come out since then. I think. You enjoyed? Did you enjoy? Oh my gosh. Oh man, I'm blanking on the Keanu. Didn't you like Keanu?
Yeah, I like Keanu Reeves.
No. The Key and Peele, the movie about the cat.
Oh no, I didn't see it.
That was like your avatar for like.
I know, but I just like the idea of the gangster
8 years.
cat. I know on Slack. Yeah, that I just like the idea of the cat and the do-rag.
You missed it, Jeremy, but Chris said that a funny movie has not come out since Tropic
That I
Thunder.
haven't I'm saying that's the last, that is the funniest movie that I have last seen. Like I've seen some other movies, but they weren't as funny as Tropic Thunder.
When did Tropic Thunder come out?
2000.
I was in high school. Was it like 2008?
Yeah. I don't go to a lot of movies though, and when I do, I don't usually go to comedies. I think we've been this before, that Jeremy likes comedy a lot more than I ever will.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we want to get back into it?
Yeah, sure. Where
It's
were
already
we
8
at?
o'clock.
Yeah, I know. Well, we had those technical difficulties, but yeah. Game Night, great movie. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a lot of these movies. Apparently, I was just dumping. I was dumping on the acting chops of one John Cena just because I didn't like Blockers. And people are like, "Oh no, Cena can act," and I'm like, "Oh, you should probably start showing it."
Cena is in the new Suicide Squad.
He's in the new Fast and the Furious. I haven't seen that yet. How is he in that, Ryan?
I have not seen it.
Oh.
I have not seen it.
Well, you wouldn't have seen him in it.
You wouldn't have seen him anyway. Yeah, right. Good point.
Let's cast him.
Hold on. I need a
What?
cut. I need just a silence for as big of a sigh as that entire conversation deserves. All right, ready?
What was that sound? That was not a sigh.
That was the life coming out of me.
I will. I'll buy it on that because that was weird. Whatever that was. Sorry, Troy. I'm sorry for copping your. Chris is acting like Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping didn't come out.
Oh, duh, pop star. Hilarious.
That was not my.
I don't think I've seen that. I didn't see Borat Part 2 either. So.
Or Part 2 was not as good as I was hoping.
It's like everything. Everything gets revived these days, and it's just like, God, why did we do this? And we're gonna really see that with Space Jam 2.
I will say the lengths that he went to get an interview with Rudy Giuliani was impressive.
No, that was hilarious, but I also think that's more of a product of Giuliani just being a colossal idiot too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But that's his speciality, is just pulling like that. That was the one thing about Part 2, is that like you would assume most of these people that he's going after at least know the character Borat, at least by the words "This is my wife," because that was everywhere, and they're still getting punked.
Like the first scene in the second one is him dealing with like people that recognize him everywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back into the list. guys.
Anyway. Where are my notes?
Oh, there it goes again.
Is that the other side this time? Forget it.
No,
We're done.
forget it.
We're just dealing with this.
Do it live! Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, Listcast Part 2. As we continue our cornerbacks listcast, we have put Bryce Callahan, Marcus Peters, Denzel Ward, James Bradbury, Tre'Davious White on our list so far. And let's just go right ahead to number 5 with a familiar name, with an old faithful name. We're going to go with Stephon Gilmore. Wow, I can talk.
Yeah, this was an interesting one because he was all over the place in terms of where people put him. Someone had him as high as 2. Someone right below me on the Twitch stream did not have him on his list at all. Did not have a good year last year. I think we can all probably agree with that, but was, I think, number 1 on our list last year. A guy who has plenty of years under him. And I think Ryan's case is going to be that, I mean, the dude's, what, 32 now? 30? 31, about to be 31. Maybe has passed over that golden age of his play and is on the downward swing. But I still had him right here at 5 as well, just because and maybe this is me just kind of believing, but like I said, he has shown consistency in his career prior to last year. Had a career high 6 interceptions last year in 2019. So I'm not ready to call it a close on his career yet, but I can understand why he's all over the place. It's just kind of an interesting test case, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, ever since he got to New England in 2017, he's been incredible, right? I mean, 2019, he was the Defensive Player of the Year, which, I mean, how often do we see cornerbacks win that award? Usually it's a pass rusher. Right. So I'm not taking anything away for that 3-year stretch in New England where he was probably, without question, the best cornerback in the NFL. It's just the father time, the bell rings for thee. And I think turning 31, I think, last season what I think really stood out was the amount of receptions he gave on the targets. 42 targets, 27 receptions. That's the highest mark of his career with a 64.3 reception rating for a defense that plays. And I mean, come on, all of us just lived through the Matt Patricia era. We know how heavy man scheme that Patriots defense is. It's tough. Like, if Stephon Gilmore bounces back, he should probably win Comeback Player of the Year.
Really?
The one thing I want to say about that, and I wouldn't necessarily say no to that, but like, you look at the yards he gave up, and this is per PFF, so the yards he's given up. He started with 63 and then 85. 2 bad games, but then it's 20, 24, 0, 17, a 61, 26, 27, 23, 8. 3 games he gave up more than 30 yards. That's not a bad year. It wasn't a bad year for him. It was, if you're only comparing it to him, I guess it was bad, but his play did not hurt the Patriots. There were a lot of other bad things happening in New England last year. I don't think Stephon Gilmore was one of them.
Marshawn, huh?
Marshawn Lattimore. I got ahead of myself. Or behind myself. Where are we?
So we are at number 4. I think this is where we finally start to get some consistency in the list cast. These 4 names keep coming up a lot. I think maybe the only guys who are like not in this list, I know Stephon Gilmore and James Bradbury kept cracking it every now and then, but I think Tre'Davious White also got into the top 4 at some point here too. But most of us voted for the same 4 guys, and they all it's just different order for it. And we mentioned Marcus Peters earlier. We said that the Baltimore Ravens would come back up again, and that number 4 is Marlon Humphrey. Who that is again, we're supposed to be doing this irrespective of other weapons around, but that's a hell of a 1-2 combo. And I feel like as Marcus Peters' star has dimmed, Marlon Humphrey has kind of been the one who has benefited of being in the spotlight just because of how he's been able to capitalize. He had 11 passes defended last year. Yeah, I think what was his PFF grade? I'm sorry, I'm scrambling around in my notes. He was
76.2 or 4.
yeah,
12th
so
overall.
he was 12th overall. Just yeah.
You know, you want to know the most ridiculous stat for Marlon Humphrey last year? 8 forced fumbles.
How?
8 forced fumbles. Like, he took Justin Coleman's one-punch man away from him. That is ridiculous. 8 forced fumbles, led the league. I mean, 2019 was an all-pro season for him. He followed up with, I would argue, a well-deserved Pro Bowl season. 10 or more passes defended in all 4 years in Baltimore. I don't know what else to say about the dude. I guess you were talking about pass rushing earlier. This guy had 2.5 sacks and 8 forced fumbles. Like, he can do it all. The interception numbers aren't necessarily there. He only had 1 last year, but that's not really a good measure, I think, to justify putting a player anywhere necessarily. But Marlon Humphrey's he's still really young. He already has kind of the consistency factor. Now I think there's maybe one small step to become elite. But like you said, Chris, these 4 guys are maybe not interchangeable, but the clear 4, I think.
Well, I feel like this next one could be a landmine for us. For any longtime listener of Listcast, they would know that we've jinxed this in the past with tight ends when we went with Hunter Henry. Number 3 for us, Miami Dolphins, Xavier Howard. And we have him on here knowingly, or maybe not knowingly, that his holdout could maybe result in maybe not being one of the top 10 corners this year. But the talent is there, Jeremy. The talent is absolutely there. He was PFF's number 2 overall cornerback graded last year. He was, I think, 10 interceptions last year, 20 passes defended. He was hot. He was very, very, very hot. Second in passer rating allowed, by the way, too. Like, stat sheet reading, which I am totally doing here, all says this guy is insane, and he's trying to take that to the bank and trying to get more money from the Dolphins. And he probably should, but it also means that, I don't know, he might not even be with the Dolphins this year. Maybe Miami tries to trade him. I don't know if they'll be able to give him the money that he's looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's early for holdouts. We'll see when training camp rolls around how that changes. But to talk about him as a player, I mean, last year was his second year in 3 years that he led the league in interception. And I know he just said interceptions isn't necessarily the best way to measure a corner. But I remember after that 2018 season, in which he had, 7 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I had him, I think, in the top 5 or top 10 or whatever. And there was still a lot of doubters. There was still a lot of people who didn't really think he was that guy yet. Like, it was kind of, when Darius Slay first, showed to Lions fans that he was the dude. And there wasn't a lot of national buzz for him yet until he had that big interception season.
Big play Slay.
And I feel like the same was said for Xavier Howard. And now he has the second year where he had a phenomenal year, maybe the best cornerback in the league last year. And so now I think having put together 2 top 5 seasons, I think you can safely say this guy is a top 3 cornerback in the league, and that's where I have him at 3.
Yeah, it's tough with the Dolphins because they opened up the piggy bank for Byron Jones in free agency a couple of years ago. So, paying for Xavier Howard is going to be expensive, but I think that you can make the case that it would be well worth it. I mean, the guy was targeted 90 times last year, only gave up 47 receptions for a 52.2 reception percentage rate, which, it's going to be tough to find anybody in the NFL who's like that. And, you already mentioned the 10 picks, 10 pass breakups. I mean, really good. The one thing, because I didn't get to say anything about Marlon Humphrey.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I completely. I'm sorry. I'm adequate.
No, it's fine. It's fine. This is Ryan Erasure. I get it. But Marlon Humphrey, the thing that I had him actually number 3 on my list ahead of Xavier Howard, because my favorite Marlon Humphrey stat is how that guy plays on the outside and he plays in the slot. Mm-hmm. And that versatility is just nuts because it wasn't only last season, but like the past 2 seasons, these are his snap count splits. Last year, 554 snaps in the slot, 420 outside. The year before that, 566 in the slot, 380 on the outside. I mean, just that kind being able to be pulled all over the place, and a Baltimore defense that plays man, like you're playing slot, you're playing on the outside, you're probably moving around, and you're just putting Marlon Humphrey on their best guy, regardless. And that dude wears number 44. You don't see a lot of good cornerbacks wearing numbers in the 40s. Like that's impressive.
We're gonna
But
see a lot of
Xavier-
weird ones.
Yeah, with the single digits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just bringing it back to Xavier Howard, trying to figure out who replaces him right now is I'm just reading some stuff from the Dolphins from like Dolphins blogs and like who replaces him, and it's not fun. It's not fun reading stuff like, hey, we might need to go to Nick Needham. We need to go to Jason
I like the
McCourty.
name.
Sounds like they need him.
I think Howard's holdout is probably going to work. I think he'll get his money. Like, I know the Dolphins, as you said, the Byron Jones money was blown out right there, but I mean, Dolphins are in a good place right now. You really want to ruin it by not having your best corner?
Yes, in league.
Yeah. Well, I see we've got the votes in on who's number 1 and number 2. Number 2, and I feel like I have to keep bringing this up because we are ostensibly a Lions podcast, and I hate how much the Green Bay Packers keep showing up here. Number 2 is Jair Alexander. And
Yeah. This also feels like kind of a long time coming guy who's finally getting some of the respect he deserves, because I he's a guy that I feel like has been tormenting the Lions for a few years. We've heard some Lions players talk very, very highly of him, and I know this is only his third season and he finally made the Pro Bowl last year, but I feel like his level of play hasn't, like, I don't feel like even necessarily last year was necessarily his best year. The year before he had 17 pass breakups. He had 13 last year. If you want to dig into the stats, he was PFF's number 1 corner with a 90.7 grade.
And
pass rating allowed
90.1
was
in coverage.
yeah. So he's all, not all coverage, but you want your cornerback to be good in coverage, and he was quite literally the best last year. 68.3 passer rating allowed. He's young. He's very, very good. It sucks that he's in Green Bay. Hopefully he demands a bunch of money, because Green Bay doesn't like to spend a lot on their own guys sometimes. But I have a feeling we're going to see this guy for a very, very long time in the division, and that is a bummer because he's very, very, very good.
Oh man! Now both of you guys had Jair Alexander number 2. I had Jair Alexander number 1.
He did.
I did, because I think Jeremy in 2020, like, he took that step, and I
Yeah.
think he put everybody on notice as like, I am the top cornerback in the league. He gave up 353 receiving yards, not just in the regular season, but that includes the 2 postseason games that Green Bay played as well.
18 games.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? Like, that's mind-boggling. The thing about Alexander too is people, they don't want to throw his way at all. 76 targets over the 2020 season and only 37 receptions. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty dang good.
I
mean,
hate he plays in the division, but
This PFF stat to me is the one that pops out from their top whatever list. They say Alexander was worth 1.4 wins above replacement level. That's almost a half win more than any other cornerback, meaning everyone else is 0.9 or less. He's worth a full win, a win and a half almost, just him alone.
Yep.
That's a
Yeah.
big deal.
It is a big deal. And we can only hope that Aaron Rodgers isn't there in Green Bay to put more pressure on their defense like that. Number 1, Jalen Ramsey of the LA Rams. Yes. The man is now in LA. He played his first full season with the Rams last year for 15 games. Time in Jacksonville has come to an end. Now he is with the Rams. And he maybe not balled out last year, but I mean, we talk about, are you consistent? Are you a known commodity when it comes to cornerbacks? And it still feels like Jalen Ramsey is that known commodity.
Yeah, I mean he's a guy that strikes fear. He's a guy that definitely does not see as many targets as a average corner would because he just has that reputation and well earned. He was part of those Jacksonville defensive teams that were so good, and then everything falls apart in Jacksonville. They let all these talented guys go. He was one of them. I think there are questions whether he'll be as good this year as in previous years. Like you said, his last year with the Rams wasn't his best year, and now new defensive coordinator, losing a couple other guys in that secondary, losing a couple guys on the defensive line. The Rams defense is going to look a lot different this year, but he's still young. He's still extremely talented. You know, he's only, 26, about to be 27 in the middle of the year. So, dude has proven it time and time again. I think he's a guy that they might have to rely on more this year than they have in previous years. He's going to have to step up more because he doesn't have as good of a supporting cast. But I'm not counting him out. I think he's still the best corner in the league, and I don't know how you can make an argument against it, to be honest.
Yeah, he's really good. I think if it wasn't for Jair Alexander, then he would be the number one cornerback in the league. One of the things that you can see combing through the PFF stats is he had a really rough first game, gave up 8 receptions in the game against Dallas, then proceeded to only give up 24 receptions over the rest of the regular season. Which, I mean, ridiculous. Come on, it's ridiculous. But lot of turnover, as you mentioned, in LA. You know, no John Johnson III. You know, Troy Hill's moving on. There's
Michael
a reason.
Brockers.
There's a reason why. You know, Jalen Ramsey wanted Corn Elder to come hang out in Los Angeles with him. Maybe wanted a nice slot corner to be playing next to. But yeah, he is one of those guys who, you know, he's an island player. But you know what? I think the term island has kind of been overused because Darrelle Revis was something completely different. Like, yes. Revis Island was a legitimate place of terror for
I just feel
opposing wide receivers.
Yeah, I just feel like, as I said at the start, it feels like a different era for us talking about corners. There's no, like, there's some really good ones out there, but we're not talking about corners like we were talking about with Darrelle Revis or Richard Sherman or those kind of years where we had just these heated debates of who the best corner was. It just feels like the talent's kind of, it's there, but it's also, as you say, it's a rough position. It's probably the hardest position to play, and you get burned a lot, and there's just not as many guys you can look at and say, you can point to and say, that guy, you just can't throw his way because he will break it up and then he'll scream at Aaron Andrews, "Don't you ever talk about me."
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like the interesting thing about it is it seems like every year there's a clear one, or right. Maybe clear two.
To Ryan's point, I think Jair Alexander, like, I could totally see him overshadowing Ramsey just because of how volatile the position is.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, every year it's a different clear number one, different clear number two, or whatever. Because last year it was Stephon Gilmore. There was no question about it. And before that, I don't quite remember who exactly it was, but it was someone else. And maybe it was Marshawn Lattimore that year. It just feels like every year one corner comes out and has a really, really good year, and then either takes a half step back, or someone else really, really big takes a big step. And so what I'm trying to say is that I can't wait for 2022 Listcast and Jeff Okudah being our number one corner.
Stop it. That, folks, is what we call copium. That's called copium. And with that is our top 10 cornerback Listcast. Struggling to the finish line to figure this one out just because it is such a wild position. Number 10, Bryce Callahan. Yes, we put a slot corner on our top 10. I believe if slot receiver is a important role in today's modern NFL, you've got to give some credit to the best slot corners who can fight them. Number 9, Marcus Peters. Number 8, Denzel Ward. Sorry, I'm not doing the voice. Number 7, James Bradbury. Number 6, Tre'Davious White. Number 5, Stephon Gilmore. Number 4, Marlon Humphrey. I keep wanting to make it Humphreys, I don't know why. Number 3, Xavier Howard. Number 2, Jair Alexander. And number 1, Jalen Ramsey.
Real quick, Jeremy, who has the best name in the top 10?
Xavier Howard.
Better than Tre'Davious White?
Yeah.
That's a spicy take.
I like X. I like X names. There needs to be more
You almost
X
said
names
something
out
else,
there.
didn't you? You almost said
I don't know.
no.
I'm just upset. Like I don't know what any team these guys play for because you didn't mention them in your list.
I'm sorry. With
It's
that,
okay.
we are out on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. As always, thank you for all your support. You guys are awesome. We'll see you Starside.